And I hope our listeners on this podcast are, in fact, just really hearing a very human wealth of knowledge here. And it's really something, if you have a chance to tune in to WATD, which is also available on the Odyssey app, that's AUDACY, you'll actually just hear a very learned man just talk about so many topics. Like last week's discussion, I enjoyed hearing. I'm a big Carole King fan. Last week, you just spoke about, you had the lead in Tim McKenney, our producer. Tim behind the glass does an awesome job, and he'll play some music. And he was playing Carole King, and you just went in. So if you want to let our listeners just get a feel, putting you on the spot, but I'm sure you have right off the top of your head about Carole King and her collection.
Yeah, so the reason I mentioned that, not only last weekend was very close to her birthday, it was actually, her birthday was on either Sunday or Monday, and of course I aired on Saturday. But a week prior, she had been a presenter on the Grammys, at the Grammys. So she was honored for 55 years that her great album Tapestry had been released. And Carole King, some people said, well, why is she relevant? And those people, of course, are just, I'll call them unlearned.
Yes.
If you can't appreciate the history of the music that created the ability for the new musicians to create, then you're not a historian. You're not looking at back. And I understand modern music is very different than it was 55 years ago. And Carole King is not creating music like she did then. But if it wasn't for her and all the other artists that I like to try to promote on the Eldred's Antique Hour, then we wouldn't have what we have today, is the way I really look at it. And I've always been a huge music fan. Tim McKenney's the one who got me started on this, because when I first started out the radio show, he had based the music from the breaks, and he'd come up with it on the spot about what I was talking about. So if I was talking about bicycles, he would play the great Queen song with the bicycle, and he'd pull that out and know that. Now, subsequently, what I like to do, I now choose the music, because that allows me to do a little research beforehand, so that when I play the music, I only play 30 to 60 seconds of it. We're not there to listen to the music, but I also will tell about the history of that song or why it is that I'm playing it. So, this weekend, Paul, and I know the podcast will come out after, and people can always go back and listen. I'll have 3 different Valentine's Day inspired songs.
Interesting. Well, I look forward to listening. And when this podcast airs, we'll be able to talk about that and all. But Duncan, we could go on for hours because you are so interesting. You're one of the most interesting people I've ever met in my life. I say that sincerely and seriously.